In introducing, as I did earlier, Ileana Ross-Layton, the Chairman Emeritus of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, to be one of our three 2018 AZM Distinguished Leadership Award winners, I referred to Representative Eliot Engel, Democrat of New York, who is the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. We selected Representative Engel to receive the 2018 AZM Distinguished Leadership Award because for the decades that he has served in Congress, he has not just represented his constituents superbly well, but he has represented the American people superbly well. It is not important to Congressman Engel, who, rumor has it, may be the next chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. But we never like to give anything a Nahora. We will wait to see what determinations are made. But Eliot Engel tells you straightforward. He looks at each person as an individual. He cares about our rights as Americans. He cares about our passion for standing up for the principles of America and for the rights of our allies. For decades, he has served every Democrat, every Republican, not only in his district, but he has served the American people with outstanding leadership. And it is in that vein that we are proud to present to Representative Eliot Engel the 2018 American Zionist Movement Distinguished Leadership Award. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for coming here today. It's really important. Many times, pro-Israel groups say to me, is it really worth our while to get out and schlep to Washington and do all the things we need to do? And my answer is always absolutely. First of all, because Joe and myself and Lee, we like to see friends from back home, but the work that you do in helping to keep Israel in everybody's minds, in helping to make sure that Israel remains a bipartisan issue, because we don't want partisan politics to creep up where Israel is concerned. And we want to make sure that all members of the House of Representatives are informed and understand the issues, because unfortunately, as we all know, the issues have been distorted. And it's up to us, those of us that love Israel, to make sure that that distortion is not left just unspoken. So we need your leadership. We need it more than ever. We need it at a time in the face of rising anti-Semitism all over the world and in our country here. We're still reeling from the massacre in Pittsburgh, the most egregious act of anti-Semitic violence in the United States' history, in our country's history. And how can it be happening? You look and you scratch your head. I'm friendly with Joe Lieberman. In fact, he moved into my district, so he votes for me. But he ran for vice president in 2000. You may remember that. And he campaigned with Al Gore all over the country. And one of the things I asked him in the year 2000 was, how many anti-Semitic incidents did you witness? You traveled the country, you campaigned for days and weeks and months on end. What did you encounter? And he said, nothing. And I said, nothing? You mean there wasn't even one act of anti-Semitism directed towards you? He said, no, not at all. And I remember how being very, very happy about that, thinking, gee, anti-Semitism is a thing of the past, after the Shoah and generations like my generation, like me, were born after World War II, that we were entering a different era in the world. And then, now the past several years, it almost unfortunately feels like we're back in the 1930s. and that's something that we obviously cannot sit still about. The way to meet this challenge is to confront anti-Semitism wherever it raises its ugly head, and a part of that is standing up for the U.S.-Israel relationship, no matter who tries to tear it down. In my almost 30 years in Congress, I've always been a champion of this partnership, and I always will be as co-chair of the Israel Allies Caucus and soon as chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Alavai. We are allies, fellow democracies, and nations of immigrants. And Israel is just an amazing place. I take it most of you, if not all of you, have been to Israel. I've never been to Israel and come home and been disappointed. I've always been strengthened, energized every time I've been there. Now, we have tried very hard in the past 6 years, Chairman Ed Royce and myself as ranking member, to run the Foreign Affairs Committee in the most bipartisan way possible. And that's what I want for Israel, to have bipartisan support all the time. I want to make it, you know, presidents come and presidents go, and prime ministers come and prime ministers go. Members of Knesset come and go, and members of Congress come and go, although I don't want to go so quickly. Neither does Lee. But it's the U.S.-Israel relationship that has to remain strong. So it doesn't matter who's prime minister or who's president at a given time. We want to make it so the U.S.-Israel alliance is there, period. Unbreakable, unshakable, the strongest alliance we have. Now, in the Foreign Affairs Committee, we deeply monitor developments in the Middle East, and obviously with you, I am very deeply concerned about the threats facing Israel. Recently, I'm sure you've all gone to the kibbutz in Israel's northern border overlooking Lebanon. And the thing that struck me the last time I was there was when you go there and they say, this is Lebanon, you take a look and you see many, many flags, but you don't see the Lebanese flag. You see the Hezbollah flag, the terrorist flag. And that tells you what kind of neighborhood Israel lives in, where that terrorist group has essentially taken over a state. And so Israel faces threats. In the last ceasefire, part of the agreement was that Hezbollah would not restock any of its weapons. Not only has it restocked, you know, it's 10 times, 20 times, whatever it is, much more than they had before. You know, people talk about Gaza and they say, well, it's under siege. Well, all the money that comes into Gaza to build schools and to build hospitals, what do they use it for? They use it to build terror tunnels so they can go and capture Israelis, bring them back to the other side of the border, and then God only knows what will happen to them. So, and I remind my friends that Israel left Gaza. And what could the Palestinians have done at that point? They could have used that land for anything positive. Instead, they used it to rain a series of rockets down on the civilian population of Israel. I think that the facts are important. We have heard so many mistruths and lies about Israel that I think it's important. That's why it's important that you are here to really let people tell the truth. Will set you free. Now, in the 12 years since Israel's last Hezbollah war, the group has amassed more than 100,000 rockets and pointed them all at Israel, with increasing sophistication, range, and accuracy. Israel should not have to live under the constant menace that thousands of rockets could again rain down on the Jewish state. And I'm very worried about what might happen in the coming months. We must provide Israel with the support it needs to defend itself by itself. And this includes defense against missiles and rockets through important cooperative programs like Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow. But we must also provide rhetorical and diplomatic support, standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel in the press, at the UN, and on the floor of the House of Representatives. And that's why so many of our bills have passed with over 350 or over 400 votes or unanimous because we want bipartisan support. We must also make sure the United States abides by the Memorandum of Understanding negotiated between Netanyahu and Obama to provide Israel with the assistance it needs. These days, nothing's guaranteed. We wake up in the morning and the world is turned upside down. But if there's anything I'm sure of, it's that the U.S.-Israel relationship remains strong, no matter who is in power. I was very happy that we finally moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, where it belongs. I've been clamoring for many years for that to happen. Israel has the right to have embassies in its capital, and the capital of Israel is Jerusalem. So let me conclude by saying the lesson is that we really must remain vigilant, take nothing for granted, but know that this relationship is enduring because of the shared values between U.S. and Israel. It's bigger than any of the personalities at a given time. Israel needs America, and America needs Israel. And let me tell you, we have to continue to fight for all the pitfalls, fight against the BDS movement, fight against people who would distort the truth. If they want to see democracy and what's happening in the Middle East, let them come to Israel. Every time I come to Israel, I go home knowing that the Jewish people are safe, and thank Hashem that we have a place that we can call a Jewish state. I'm tired of the one Jewish state in the world being picked on again and again by the United Nations and by people and countries who wouldn't know democracy if it hit them in the head. So I want to thank you. Thank you for the good work you do. It's always appreciated. Am Yisroel Chai. Thank you.